Don't tell me. The biggest cheater in Guitar Hero history? No.
Hello, you absolute legends. The year is 2011, and this is me balancing a Guitar Hero controller on my chin. The controller wasn't mine, it belonged to my housemate, and truth be told, this was the most action the controller had seen in a long time. By 2011, Guitar Hero Mania had dwindled, but in the late 2000s, it was huge with the franchise selling millions of copies. Even my sister owned one of the games, and I vividly remember us dueling against one another trying to get the highest score. The fun never seemed to last for long, however. I actually play guitar, which surprisingly does have a lot of carryover to the game, so my agile fingers were able to play along much easier than hers. Guitar Hero seemed like the kind of game that was fun for a few songs, but the novelty quickly wore off, and most people set it aside never to play it again. Personally, I found it
I never really had like
fun,
a Guitar Hero
but I
phase.
never took it seriously because I could play the real thing. And ironically, the songs seemed easier to play on a real guitar than on the game. Nowadays, Guitar Hero seems to be somewhat out of fashion, and the last popular game came out well over a decade ago. But not everyone put their controllers away. There is still a very active community of dedicated Guitar Heroes doing incredible things. And at the top level, Guitar Hero is astoundingly impressive. I have never followed Guitar Hero and wasn't really aware of the kind of accomplishments people had performed in the game.
That looks
but after
painful.
spending the last couple of weeks within the community, playing the game myself and watching the best of the best, I am in complete shock. The things some of these players can do with their fingers boggles the mind. And one of the best players in recent years, maybe even the best, was a player by the name of Shmooey. Shmooey was a level beyond what anyone had ever seen. He did things that simply no one else could do. Over a span of 2 years, he amassed a long list of world firsts, perfectly playing through the most difficult of songs, and often at double or even triple the speed they were meant to be played. By the accounts of most other top players, and even Shmooey himself, he was the greatest the world had ever seen. In fact, he may have even been a bit too good. Some of his accomplishments seemed inhuman, but Shmooey had been around for so long and had seemingly proven himself so many times that the thought of any trickery taking place was immediately brushed off. There were some red flags though, certain glitches that seemed to crop up, or weird behaviors that couldn't be explained. However, there was nothing concrete, and he was so trustworthy that any investigations were half-hearted and didn't result in anything meaningful. Then, a bombshell dropped. In December of 2021, Shmooey posted another world first, playing through the song 9 Patterns of Eternal Pain without missing a single note, something that no one else had ever done. Everyone was blown away, and the comment section of the YouTube video was once again flooded with comments of amazement. But there was one player who noticed something that was off. The finger patterns that Shmooey was using through one of the song's trickiest sections wasn't correct. Based on what he was actually playing on the guitar, he shouldn't have hit all of the notes. This oddity was too egregious to ignore, and sparked another investigation from several of the top players. This time, they were serious, and what they uncovered was one of the most prolific examples of cheating we've ever seen. Shmooey had been faking most of his accomplishments for years. In this video, we will take a look at this most recent example of cheating and examine both the methodology used by Shmooey to fool his peers and also the mistakes he made that led to his ultimate demise. It's a fascinating story, and I really hope you enjoy. While the initial Guitar Hero mania that was so prevalent in the late 2000s has long since waned, and the popularity of the game has seen a steady decline over the past 15 years, the competitive scene of Guitar Hero has seen somewhat of a resurgence since 2017.
Competitive scene,
This is largely in part to the release of Clone Hero, which is a near-identical port of the game to the PC. Clone Hero, while being an unofficial port, is extremely faithful to the original franchise, and was created essentially out of necessity due to the official PC port being horribly botched, featuring very low note limits and frequent crashes. For all intents and purposes, the game is basically the same, as are the skills required in order to play well. The game has 4 difficulties: easy with the least amount of notes and only requiring
I
you
could
to
do
use
that.
3 buttons, medium, now requiring the use of 4 buttons, hard, utilizing all 5
Okay,
buttons,
hard,
and
would
expert,
be hard.
which also requires 5 buttons and contains the most amount of notes. The game does well to mimic some of the techniques used by real guitarists too, with hammer-ons and pull-offs and tapping.
Don't know what
Obviously,
any
the
of that
controller
is.
doesn't mimic a real guitar perfectly. A guitar has 6 strings with up to 24 frets, resulting in 144 possible notes to hit. Guitar Hero makes things significantly simpler, with no need to worry about horizontal or vertical movement, but what it lacks in complexity, it makes up for in sheer speed. Without having to worry about
I don't think
everything
you-
else, this leaves people focused on a single goal, playing as fast as possible. Players reach stupidly fast speeds. Here are just a few clips to demonstrate what I mean.
That's just like muscle memory, right?
Oh my fucking god.
Look at that intensity. He was like a fucking like an actual rock star. Look at that death
Oh my
stare.
fucking god.
It takes many years and countless hours to reach the finger dexterity required to do these feats, and it's insanely impressive. Even more so if you are a musician yourself and you understand how hard it is to move your fingers this quickly. They are so quick that generally songs played at the normal speed are far too slow, so they need to speed it up to 200, 300, or even higher percentages in order to provide a
Just
challenge.
to feel
Unless
something.
they are custom songs, which are becoming far more popular thanks to the ease at which they can be made and played using Clone Hero. The pinnacle of achievement in these games is called a full combo, or FC for short. Playing through an entire song perfectly without missing a single note or making any mistakes. The more challenging the song, the more impressive the FC. Songs can be short and highly demanding, testing the limits of human dexterity, or they can be long marathons requiring continuous
Testing
precision for
the
up to
limits.
20 minutes.
5
Guitar
buttons
playing
seems
under
tough.
my
You just
belt.
have to
I
use
needed
your
to
thumb
practice
as well.
sections many times
just like-
before I could get through. Despite everything you're about to hear, Shmooey was, and is, a really good Guitar Hero player. He attended real meetups and played in person with real players. However, as I've always said, and as history has and will continue to show, being good doesn't make you any less likely to cheat. It does make these kind of situations more of a giant shame, because all of that time spent getting legitimately good is simply thrown away. Like all top players, Shmooey had been playing for years. As early as
Shmooey.
2013, he was already uploading Guitar Hero videos to YouTube. He's only 20 years old now, so he must have been extremely young. Though it would be in 2018 where he would really start to make an impression on the Guitar Hero scene, posting various montages of his best clips. One of his most impressive early videos was the song Don't Has AIDS in October of 2018, showcasing his impressive tapping skills. This caught the attention of the other top players who welcomed Shmooey into the community, where he would
Okay,
continue to
doing a
share his
fun little-
videos and develop as a player.
Thank
2019
you.
is where Shmooey really started to shine, performing feats that even the best of players had tried and failed to do, and he would seemingly do them with relative ease. In June of 2019, Shmooey's full combo of the section Solo F in the song Supernovae was his first big break that really put him on the map and made everyone take notice. In September, one of the greatest players ever, Friff, was grinding on stream trying to FC the song Zoidberg's Revenge, which would have been a
Zoidberg.
world first at the time, when Shmooey came out of nowhere to snipe it. Shmooey wasn't just able to play songs perfectly with relative ease, but he could also do things that other people simply couldn't physically do. A
What?
great example is the solo for I'm the One by Van Halen, which contains a section that requires you to strum at 22.8 notes per second, which is already crazy, but Shmooey was playing it at 125% speed, which puts it at 28.5 notes per second. Coupled with technical fretting, this section is just insane. Between 2019 and 2021, Shmooey accumulated a long list of world firsts and boasted achievements that no one else in the world could mimic. He even managed to win himself a bit of pocket money in the form of bounties. Various people would offer up large amounts of money for whoever could FC difficult songs. Shmooey did very well for himself, scooping up thousands of dollars. By 2021, Shmooey was easily considered the best player in the world. The things that Shmooey was able to accomplish were unbelievable. And of course, whenever you start to do things this impressive, people start to become ever so skeptical. People start to pay closer attention to the minute details. And it wasn't just Shmooey's skill that made a few eyebrows raise either. While he had provided video proof for all of his major achievements, there were some oddities in his videos that were definitely noticed. The first notable instance being a full combo of the song Madness March Kamikaze from June 2020. The webcam is particularly dark in the video, making it hard to see exactly what is happening.
That's true.
But the microphone was working just fine, and you can definitely hear the notes being tapped on the guitar.
You're telling me people are gonna like listen to these notes, like the timing of them? There's no way.
This song had been FC'd before by the player ArchWK, and it was noted that Arch's tapping speed was much faster than Shmooey's. It seemed as though Shmooey wasn't tapping quick enough to hit every note, but ultimately, this isn't anything concrete and nothing happened. In April of 2021, Shmooey uploaded his yearly montage called Shmootage, which featured his best clips of the previous year. In one of the songs highlighted, the ending is insanely difficult, requiring a very specific technique in order to do it correctly. However, what Shmooey actually played on the guitar was very different. This was quite obvious to the players who were experienced with this song, and several of them confronted Shmooey about his playstyle. Shmooey attempted to provide an explanation of his technique, but no one else could understand how it could possibly work, nor could they replicate
Reverse
it.
choke
And
BAIM
285. He claimed he
285.
would show them in a voice call to prove it was possible, though that never happened. There were also a ton of weird stutters that would show up in various videos. Very obvious sections where there would be inexplicable dropped frames. Shmooey claimed this was simply an error with OBS, the software he used to record his videos. Something else that was extremely bizarre was when he uploaded a tech FC of Through the Fire and Flames at 250% speed in June of 2021. A tech FC is where they play each section separately and then put them together. It's more like a theoretical demonstration of what might be possible. But then, mere hours after uploading this incredible display of skill, the video was removed. Shmooey claimed this was due to a copyright strike, but people had noted that copyright strikes for this song hadn't happened in over a decade. Besides, at 250% speed, the copyright system doesn't even recognize the song. What is convenient, though, is that the people who did watch the video immediately suspected that the video of Shmooey playing seemed sped up. The movements didn't seem normal to the experienced players, especially some of the random movements that weren't related to the song itself.
Could have fooled me.
But alas, the video was gone, so no one was able to study it in great detail. You will notice that I'm using the footage from that same video, so obviously it wasn't lost forever, but we'll get to that a bit later. Now, putting all of these suspicious elements together
maybe it is sped up. That arm movement definitely, like that right there definitely looks sped up.
We'll get to that a bit later. Now, putting all of these suspicious elements together makes it seem pretty crazy that legitimate accusations of cheating weren't levied earlier. However, there is still no concrete proof of cheating in any of these examples. They are weird and definitely suspicious, but not 100% reliable. Also, Shmooey had been attending real-life meetups and showing his skill in person. Granted, he was never as good as his videos, but maybe he was just having an off day whenever anyone was watching. He was still considered extremely trustworthy and was so involved with the community that any doubters would be fairly quickly shut down and shamed.
Not my Shmooey.
It happened. In December of 2021, Shmooey would upload a video that changed everything. This wasn't just suspicious, this was blatant, and it would expose one of the most prolific cheaters in video game history. On the 15th of December 2021, Shmooey uploaded a world-first full combo of the song 9 Patterns of Eternal Pain. This song features some of the most difficult tapping patterns ever created, and Shmooey played through the entire thing flawlessly. Everyone was blown away at yet another unfathomable achievement. In hindsight, it's actually hilarious that no one noticed the glaring problem with this video, but it would eventually be spotted. First, something else was noticed. About a month later in early January, several of the top players were watching Shmooey's video in a Discord voice chat. Most notably was the player Jobu, who realized that during one of the later tapping sections, the technique that Shmooey was using was completely wrong. Unlike the previous example of Shmooey playing incorrectly, this was irrefutable. It was crystal clear that he was not hitting the notes he was supposed to be. The player Frith then reached out to Shmooey, asking him exactly how he played that particular pattern. Shmooey's response was both illogical and more difficult than what other players would have used, and also it didn't even match the technique that was shown in the video. But even that wasn't the worst thing about Shmooey's video. For 2 seconds at the very end, a Windows Media Player overlay appears on screen, indicating that this wasn't a live recording, but rather a screen recording of another video. Why on earth would Shmooey screen record an existing video? The bizarre inconsistencies were getting out of hand, and this prompted players to start going over many of Shmooey's videos with a fine-tooth comb. It also just so happened that his Through Fire and Flames Tech FC that had been supposedly struck down due to copyright had been saved by someone before it was removed, and they were able to get a copy to re-examine it in greater detail. Upon watching again, everyone seemed to agree that the webcam was sped up. Several players had finally had enough, and decided to confront Shmooey with everything suspicious they had found. Initially, Shmooey was adamant that everything was legit.
What is this lighting?
He claimed that he needed to re-record a media player video through OBS because of rendering problems, which is why the overlay appeared on screen.
Why at the end is there a UI there for Windows Media Player?
Oh man, he's getting interrogated.
Whenever I recorded via video pad, the rendering is all fucked, and I had to re-record on OBS.
Hi, thank you for the prime.
He claimed that his techniques were definitely correct, and any discrepancies might be due to video or audio issues. However, as the call continued and pressure mounted, he finally confessed to a total of 4 faked videos.
Oh, well that wasn't too tough.
The Blade of Flames did get taken down by a strike, but I will say this is one of the few times in which I tried to do anything suspicious. Everything else that people are looking at is going to be, you know, as far as I'm aware, legit. Okay? But I will say with Flames and a couple other ones that are primarily old, that I have done some suspicious and non-authentic stuff. And that was particularly with the Flames vid.
The method used was splicing, which is one of the most prevalent ways people cheat in speedrunning, taking 2 different sections and using video editing to put them together, because it's just too hard to do an entire thing perfectly in a single take. The most egregious example was Through the Fire and Flames, which was spliced very poorly. You can see the score counter actually drop by 5,000 points at the splice. This was a massive error, which explains why the video was removed immediately. Splicing in Guitar Hero is a bit more complex, however, because
How are you not like fantastic? Like if you're like splicing your own video, like how is that not like, that has to be like one of the things like you're certainly like looking at, right?
Game has to match the webcam. If you splice the webcam, that is immediately obvious. So in order to get around this problem, you have to record the game footage separately and then fake a webcam video over the top. Shmooey stated in no uncertain terms that he only faked 4 videos and repeatedly stated that the video showing the Windows Media Player overlay was definitely real. But there was one more thing about the video that seems to completely debunk Shmooey's story. While Windows Media Player stopped 2 seconds before the end, the audio of Shmooey's microphone still continued.
Oh my god.
The only explanation
What does
for
that
this
prove?
is that he was recording his webcam video and microphone separately over the top of a pre-existing video. And as I just explained, that's exactly what you need to do if you want to fake a Guitar Hero score. The players now knew that at least some of Shmooey's videos were fake, which is a really good start. Analyzing known faked videos is one of the best ways to learn about how to detect them. You can examine everything and find out every tiny difference that may help uncover future or even current cheaters. With so much manpower devoted to this cause, if there were more faked videos, it was inevitable they would be uncovered. And boy, were they ever. On the 14th of January, a player by the name of Mariazzi uploaded a video where he compared the speed of Shmooey's videos side by side with his own game, and realized that Shmooey's game was running ever so slightly slow. This wasn't noticeable to the naked eye, but when you run it through video editing software, it becomes obvious. And it's not just the speed of the game either, it's the audio itself. Given that a song will always play at the same speed, and the notes are synced up to the song, there is no reason for the songs on Shmooey's videos to be playing slowly. They soon realized there was only one explanation. He would play through songs at a much slower speed, which is obviously easier, and then speed the footage back up. But when he did so, it wasn't perfect, so there ended up being a slight deviation. This deviation could only be found through Shmooey's videos and no one else's. Through a full analysis, it was quickly realized that almost every single one of Shmooey's videos had been faked in this way. More than 100 cheated videos over a span of almost 3 years. In the following days, even more ways to detect speed hacking were found, confirming the conclusion multiple times over. And it wasn't just speed hacking. They knew that Shmooey liked to splice, so the goal was to create a concrete way of knowing if one had occurred. They accomplished this by using the light pattern around the score multiplier. The ring is only lit in this way if no notes have been missed, and the light pattern should always be the same every single time. If the light pattern moves or jumps in a weird way, not only is this indicative of a splice, but it means the song before the splice had been altered in some way. Using the ring, even more splices were unearthed. Earlier suspicious clips like the Van Halen solo with crazy strumming I mentioned earlier in the video were re-examined. Using frame-by-frame analysis, it showed that Shmooey wasn't actually strumming fast enough to hit every note. Ultimately, all of the weird oddities people had noticed over the years were legitimate clues to something more sinister. It just took several years and a slip-up from Shmooey to unravel it all. On January 15th, Shmooey uploaded a video, confessing that most of his videos were inauthentic, though he didn't go into any technical detail. 2 days later, he posted a twitlonger confirming that he used a cheat engine, splicing, and auto-strum. He also clarified that he played songs at 75% speed and then increased the video speed to 132.5%. The math here is slightly off, as he should have sped it up by 133.3% in order to correct it properly, which is why his tracks ended up being slightly slow. To his credit, shortly after his full confession, Shmooey also paid back all of the bounties he had won, totaling several $1,000s. He unlisted all of his videos on YouTube, privated his socials, and said it was time for him to go.
Hey.
This is definitely one of the worst cases of cheating I've ever seen, and one of the reasons for that is the relative scope of the effort Shmooey put into his faked videos when compared to the size of the community. Guitar Hero has a relatively small group of top players when compared with some other areas of gaming like speedrunning or esports. There are a couple of exceptions like Asai, who has a very large YouTube channel, but generally there isn't much fanfare or popularity that comes with being the best at this particular game. And yet, Shmooey, over the course of several years, spent an ungodly amount of energy creating these fake scores with no real payoff.
Cheating on the wrong game.
He didn't amass a huge following or have much to show for his cheated accomplishments outside of praise and admiration from within the community itself. On the flip side, the devastation and damage he caused was incredible. The people who devote themselves to Guitar Hero might be small in number, but they make up for it in dedication. some spending hundreds or even thousands of hours trying to perfect a single song.
He should have
When a
attempted
player
Minecraft
invests countless
speedrunning
hours into
instead.
being the first person in the world to do something, and then someone else claims that achievement by cheating, they are effectively stealing all of that time from the other person who will never get it back. And even if later that person finds out they were in fact the first to do something, the moment is far less special. At the end of the day, cheaters are thieves, stealing time, stealing energy, stealing fame, and stealing dreams from everyone else. If you do want to give back to the community, I definitely recommend giving some of the top-level Guitar Hero or Clone Hero players a watch, as they really do deserve more credit for the crazy things they are able to do. I will put a link in the description to one of, if not the greatest full combo in the game's history. Please go and check it out.